Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a very specific, and I'm just going to say it, a massive mission ahead of us today.
It feels big, yeah.
We are logging a brand new entry for Project World Soul.
Project World Soul. It still sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, doesn't it? But the stakes are incredibly real.
They really are. And for anyone who might be new to this specific initiative, let's just set the stage, because this isn't just another analysis.
Right.
We are feeding data into a massive global initiative. I mean, we're talking about using advanced generative AI to build the ultimate sensory visual encyclopedia of every single nation on Earth.
And the goal, let's not forget, is the Guinness World Record. We are trying to build the most comprehensive digital preservation of human culture ever attempted.
Ever.
But, and this is the part I love, the AI doesn't need us to read it Wikipedia articles.
Right. It already knows the GDP. It knows the population density down to the decimal point. It knows the dates of every battle and every election.
It has the cold, hard numbers.
That's the easy part.
Exactly. Our job, our human-in-the-loop role, is to teach the algorithm how to feel. We are the curators of the vibe.
The vibe. I like that.
We need to give it the texture, the specific quality of the lighting, the smell of the air, the emotional frequency of the streets. We're looking for the soul of the country, not the spreadsheet.
We're trying to prevent that generic uncanny valley simulation.
Yeah.
We want the AI to render a reality that someone from there would look at and say, yes, that's it. That is home. That is what the light looks like at 4 p.m. in November.
And today, we are training the model on a country that is, well, it's complicated.
It is.
It is perhaps one of the most misunderstood, misrepresented, and visually complex places on the planet. We're going to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Now, I know what just happened. I can almost feel the listener's brain shifting gears.
Oh, yeah.
You hear that name, you instantly think, conflict, politics, the news cycle from the last 40 years.
It's unavoidable. That narrative is powerful, and it's loud.
And we acknowledge that, of course. We aren't erasing history. But for the purpose of Project World Soul, we are doing a hard pivot. We are strictly sensory today. We are looking for the texture of the mountains, the physics of the cooking, the lighting of the valleys, and the flavor of the resilience.
We want to find the data points that make Afghanistan, Afghanistan underneath all the headlines. And I have to say, looking at this stack of sources you've pulled,
It's a lot.
it is. Technical papers on sensory cartography, deep dives into ancient weaving, reports on industrial decay, folklore. This is going to be a heavy entry.
It's a fascinating stack, though. So here is our roadmap for the AI input. We are breaking this down into 4 data pillars just to keep the algorithm organized.
Okay.
First, the soul. We're talking the people, the resilience, the poetry. Second, the scenery, light qualities, landscapes, that kind of thing.
Right.
Third, the taste, the actual physics of the food, which is surprisingly complex.
And fourth, the secrets.
The secrets, the folklore, the ghosts, and the glitches in the system.
I like that structure. It moves from the internal human experience to the external environment, then to the sensory intake of food, and finally, into the hidden cultural layer. It makes sense.
So let's get into it. Let's start with pillar 1, the soul.
If you want to understand the soul of Afghanistan, you have to start with the map. But I don't mean looking at the borders on a political map. I mean looking at it as a mechanism, a machine.
The sources refer to it as the roundabout of the ancient world, which is a great phrase, but what does that actually mean for the people living there?
Well, think about a roundabout in traffic. It's where all these different roads converge, right? It forces interaction.
Okay.
Afghanistan is the physical crossroads of Central, South, and West Asia. It's where the Middle East bumps into the Far East, which then bumps into the Indian subcontinent. For thousands of years, if you were moving anything, silk, spices, religion, art, armies, you had to go through this corridor.
So it's like a transit lounge for civilization.
In a way, yes. And when things pass through, they leave a trace. They leave DNA. They leave words. They leave recipes.
Right.
And this has created a demographic mosaic that is incredibly complex. The AI needs to understand that there is no single Afghan face. You have the Pashtun, the Tajik, the Hazara, the Uzbek, the Turkmen, the Balak.
It's a massive mosaic, not a monolith.
Exactly.
And usually when we think of a mosaic, we think of something fragile. But the sources suggest this diversity is held together by this intense, rugged resilience.
Yeah.
And there is one visual data point that captures this soul better than anything I've ever seen. We need to talk about the war rugs.
Oh, this is a phenomenal data point. This is where art history meets, well, it meets trauma.
So paint the picture for the listener. Usually when you think of an Afghan or Persian rug, what do you see in your mind's eye?
You see a garden. That's the traditional motif. It's an idealized garden, geometric flowers, vines, intricate borders, maybe a tree of life right in the center.
A paradise.
It's meant to be a paradise you can roll out on your floor. It's escapism.
Right, it's escapism. But starting around 1979, with the Soviet invasion, and then continuing through the civil wars and the American presence, something shifted in the weave.
The weavers, who are mostly women, working in their homes, started changing the data.
They started weaving what they saw.
And they weren't seeing flowers anymore.
Exactly. I'm looking at these high-res scans of these rugs in our source pile right now. At first glance, maybe 10 feet away, it looks like a traditional geometric pattern. But then you zoom in.
And
that long rectangular shape in the border, that's not a vine. That's a Kalashnikov rifle. That geometric block in the center, that's a Soviet tank.
And it gets even more specific, right? Some of these rugs feature helicopters. You can identify the machinery. They're specifically Soviet Mi-24 Hinds.
Yeah, and later rugs show F-16s or even drones, little pixelated drones.
Wow.
There's one here that depicts the 9/11 attacks. It's stylized, almost pixelated because of the knots, but it's clearly the Twin Towers. It's so jarring because it's done in this medium that we associate with warmth and home and tradition.
I think jarring is the right word, but we need to push past the shock value for a second. What does this tell the AI about the soul?
I think it says that the soul of this place doesn't compartmentalize.
That's it. In the West, we tend to separate war from home. War happens over there, and home is supposed to be safe. These rugs show that for the Afghan soul, the conflict was woven literally into the domestic fabric.
It's not propaganda either. The government didn't order these women to weave tanks.
No, not at all. It's a vernacular response. It's a diary written in wool.
One source called it the rural soul, processing geopolitical trauma. It's nonverbal history. And for the simulation, this is key. We can't just have generic rugs in the background of a scene.
No, that would be a huge mess.
If the AI generates a home interior in Kandahar or Herat, the rug on the floor might have a history of the world woven right into it.
It creates a lived-in authenticity that is so hard to fake. It shows the people who witness everything, process it, and turn it into something durable.
Speaking of processing the earth and durability, there's another massive shift happening in the soul of the country. We usually picture the Afghan economy or lifestyle as, agrarian.
The shepherd, the farmer, that's the archetype, the man with the flute on a mountainside.
But one of our sources, a really sharp analysis from Cosmonaut magazine, brings up a concept called the proletariat of the pit.
Proletariat of the pit. It sounds like a metal album, but it's actually a sociological earthquake.
It is. We need to feed the AI the financial context here. Afghanistan is sitting on top of an estimated $1 trillion in untapped minerals.
Trillion, with a T.
Lithium, copper, iron ore, lapis lazuli, emeralds. I mean, it is a geological treasure chest that has been locked for centuries.
And because of the economic situation, which has been, well, dire, you are seeing this huge shift in the workforce. You have men who 2 generations ago would have been herding goats or growing wheat.
And
now they are artisanal miners.
Artisanal makes it sound like they're making hipster coffee or something.
Right. It's a totally misleading term. It means they are working with pickaxes, improvised explosives, and basically no safety gear. They're descending into these narrow, terrifying shafts to pull lithium or lapis out of the mountain.
So the soul is shifting from the surface of the land to the interior of the land.
That's a brilliant way to put it. Think about the psychological difference there. A shepherd watches the horizon, the weather, the seasons. A miner watches the vein of rock, the dark, the depth.
It changes your relationship with the earth.
Completely. You stop seeing the mountain as a home and start seeing it as a resource or maybe a lottery ticket.
And visually, for the AI, this is such a key texture. We need to render men covered not just in field dust, but in the gray dust of lithium or the blue dust of lapis.
It creates a tension. The landscape is heritage, but it's also extraction.
It adds a layer of grit and desperation, but also ambition. These guys are chasing a future in the dark.
But, and I love this contrast, because this deep dive is all about high contrast. At the exact same time, you have this hardened, gritty miner digging in the pit.
You have a culture that is deeply, profoundly soft and intellectual on the inside.
We have to talk about Thursday night poetry.
This is my favorite data point for the soul pillar. Because if you only look at the miners or the war rugs, you might think the culture is purely hardened. But that's just wrong.
In the West, poetry is, well, it's niche. It's for academics or, slam poetry nights in coffee shops.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan, poetry is the heartbeat. It's the blood.
It's a practice that is over 1,000 years old. On Thursday nights, which is the start of the weekend there, people gather. And we aren't talking about some specific elite class. We're talking about everyone.
The sources describe these scenes where you have old men, young students, maybe even those same guys who are just mining rocks all day long. They sit in a circle, they drink tea, and they recite verse.
And they aren't just reading Rumi or Hafiz, though they do that too. They're composing. They are improvising. They use poetry to talk about love, yes, but also about politics, about satire, about their frustrations with the world. For the AI visualization, this is crucial. We need to create a high-value indoor location, a safe space. Imagine a room with soft light, maybe a red carpet on the floor, the steam rising from green tea, and this intense, focused listening.
It creates a juxtaposition that really characterizes the whole country. You have a rugged, hardened exterior, the graveyard of empire's reputation, the mountains, the mines acting as a shell.
And inside that shell?
Inside that shell, there is a deeply poetic, soft, intellectual interior life.
It's the warrior with the poet's heart. It sounds like a fantasy cliche, but here, it's just Thursday night.
If the AI misses the poetry, it misses the human. It's that simple. If we just render the guy with the pickaxe, we're creating a caricature. We need to render the guy with the pickaxe who can then recite a 50-line poem about the moon and the loss of a friend.
Beautifully put. Yeah. Okay, let's move to pillar 2. The scenery. We've got the people. Now we need to build the world around them. We need to tell the AI how to light this set.
Lighting is everything. You can have the best 3D models in the world, but if the lighting is wrong, it just looks like a video game from 2005.
According to our sensory cartography source, Afghanistan isn't just sunny. It has 2 very distinct lighting modes based on the geography.
Right. We need to program in the highland mode and the lowland mode. It's a binary switch almost.
Let's start with the highlands. The Hindu Kush.
Okay, we are talking high altitude here, thin air, very low humidity. The source describes the light as sharp or crystalline.
Crystalline. I love that word for light.
Think about when you're on a really high mountain or in a desert in the winter. There is no moisture in the air to scatter the light, so the shadows are ink black. The highlights are blinding white.
And distant objects.
Like a peak 20 miles away, they look deceptively close.
Because there's no atmospheric haze to blur it all out.
Exactly. It creates what photographers would call a high dynamic range look. It feels crisp, sharp edges everywhere.
Okay, so that's mode 1, crystal clear. What happens when we go down to the valleys? To the cities or the plains?
The light changes completely. It becomes hazy or golden. And there is a specific physics term the source uses here, which I thought was fascinating. Me-scattering.
Me-scattering. Okay, break that down for us. We aren't all physicists here.
Okay, so imagine you throw a tennis ball at a brick wall. It bounces straight back, right? That's direct reflection.
Got it.
Now imagine you throw that same tennis ball into a room that's just filled with floating pillows. The ball hits a pillow, bounces sideways, hits another pillow, bounces down. The energy gets diffused.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
In the Afghan valleys, the air is filled with pillows for the light waves. And those pillows are tiny particles of dust. It's called Lucas blowing off the dry ground, mixed with smoke from wood and coal fires, which people use for heating and cooking.
So the light hits this dust and smoke mix and just scatters everywhere.
Exactly. And because the particles are roughly the same size as the wavelength of the light, it scatters the red and yellow wavelengths more effectively. It creates this warm, diffuse golden glow. It's almost like a permanent golden hour.
So visually, the AI needs to know. If we are in the mountains, everything is sharp, blue, high contrast. If we're in the valley near a village, everything is bathed in this soft, dusty, golden haze.
It's a cinematic quality that is specific to that region's geology and its lifestyle. You can't fake that.
Now let's talk biomes, because I think if I asked a random person to draw Afghanistan, they'd draw a desert with a camel.
Which is a huge misconception. It's not just sand. We need to introduce the AI and you, the listener, to Bani Amir.
The sources call this the Grand Canyon of Afghanistan.
Right, but imagine the Grand Canyon, but instead of a muddy river at the bottom, you have a series of 6 lakes that look like they belong in the Maldives.
The color is what gets me. The descriptions just say azure blue. It sounds fake.
It's an electric blue. And it's caused by the geology. The water is super rich in minerals, and it's held back by these natural dams made of travertine.
Travertine.
Oh.
That's that white kind of porous limestone rock, right?
Yes. Deposited by mineral springs over thousands and thousands of years. So you have these stark, white, and tan canyon walls holding back water that is shockingly blue. Against the dry, dusty beige mountains all around it, it looks like a glitch.
Like someone used the saturation slider in Photoshop and just pushed it all the way up.
Exactly. But it's real.
And it's not the only surprise.
Not at all. Then you move to the east. The montane conifer forests.
Forests.
Real forests. Cedar, pine, fir trees, lush, deep greens. Snow leopards live there. It completely contradicts that desert war zone aesthetic we all have in our heads.
The AI needs to be able to render a deep, alpine evergreen palette.
For sure.
Let's zoom in on the textures of the built environment. If we are walking through a village, what are we touching? We aren't touching vinyl siding or, red brick.
No, the dominant material is paksa. This is mud brick. But don't think of it as primitive. You should think of it as thermal engineering. It's brilliant.
How does it work?
So the walls are incredibly thick, and mud has a very high thermal mass. In Afghanistan, the climate is extreme scorching summers, freezing winters.
Right.
The paksa walls absorb the sun's heat all day long, which keeps the inside cool. Then at night, when the temperature plummets, that stored heat radiates back into the house, keeping it warm.
So the house actually breathes with the seasons.
It self-regulates. And visually, these houses look like tiered cubes that grow organically right out of the mountains. They're the same color as the earth because they are the earth. It's almost like camouflage architecture.
But then you have to talk about the flip side, the ruin as aesthetic.
Yeah.
We have to mention the Taj Beg Palace.
The Queen's Palace. This is a haunting texture. It sits on a hill overlooking Kabul. It was built in the 1920s in this grand European neoclassical style.
It looks like something you'd see in Vienna or Paris.
It does. But now, it's a shell. It's a skeleton. It has been hit by so much ordnance over the decades. It represents a very specific texture. Interrupted modernity.
That's a great phrase for it.
The AI needs to capture that contrast. The intricate European molding of a window frame. But the window is gone, and the wall around it is just pockmarked by bullets.
It serves as a visual marker of time and conflict, beauty and destruction in one single frame.
And for ancient remnants, you have the minaret of Jam.
This thing's incredible. It's a 65-meter brick tower. That's like a 20-story building.
Standing absolutely alone in a remote river valley. There's no city around it, just this massive finger of brick pointing at the sky.
And the detail on it.
It's covered in Kufic script and these incredible geometric patterns baked right into the bricks. It's from the 12th century. It tells the AI that this land has deep, sophisticated imperial roots. It's not the middle of nowhere. It was once the center of everything.
Let's touch on clothing before we leave the scenery pillar, because clothing is such a huge part of the visual texture of a crowd.
The standout item for me is the bustan. It's the traditional sheepskin coat.
I can almost smell it just from the pictures. Describe the texture for us.
It's a dual texture. On the outside, you have the skin. It's suede or leather, often dyed this warm yellow or tan, sometimes with elaborate yellow embroidery.
And on the inside?
The fleece. The wool is kept on. It's dense, curly, and incredibly warm. It's the visual language of the Highlands.
And the sources also mention a visual constraint we need to be aware of regarding color.
Yes. This is really important for accuracy. There is a tension in the visual culture. Traditionally, Afghan clothing, especially for women, is incredibly colorful. Bright embroidery, little glass mirrors sewn into the fabric to catch the light.
But recently,
there is imposed austerity, restrictions on dress codes. So for the AI, we need to capture that layering. You might have a scene where the outer layer is a solid, austere color, black or blue, but maybe there is a flash of bright green or a glint of a mirror from a layer underneath.
It's that hidden interior theme again. The color is still there, but it's protected.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to pillar 3, the taste. I hope you're hungry, because this section is going to make us want to order takeout immediately.
The taste pillar is fascinating because it's not just about ingredients, it's about physics.
Let's start with the philosophy of the table first. There is a word we need to teach the AI. Melmastia.
Melmastia. It is the Pashtun code of hospitality. But calling it hospitality is way too weak. It's like calling a hurricane a breeze.
It's a structural obligation.
It is law. If you are a guest in someone's home, you are king. It doesn't matter if the host is poor. If you walk into their home, they will slaughter their last chicken for you. It's not a question.
So visually, the dasturkhan, the tablecloth that's spread on the floor, needs to look abundant.
Overwhelmingly abundant. The vibe is extreme generosity. Heaping platters. You never want the guest to see the bottom of the bowl.
Now, let's get into the kitchen physics. This was a real aha moment for me in the research. The altitude changes the way food tastes and cooks.
It's pure chemistry. Kabul is high up. The Hindu Kush is even higher. We all learned in school that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, right? 212 Fahrenheit.
Right.
That's only true at sea level. At high altitude, the air pressure is lower, so the water molecules can escape into steam much easier. In Kabul, water might boil at 96 or 97 degrees.
That doesn't sound like a huge difference.
In cooking, it's everything. If you're trying to cook a tough cut of lamb, you need high heat to break down the collagen, the connective tissue, and turn it into gelatin. If your water only gets to 96 degrees, you can boil that meat for 10 hours, and it might still be rubbery.
It never gets hot enough to melt the collagen.
Exactly.
So how do they adapt? They've been living there for thousands of years. They must have a workaround.
Two main technologies. First, the Dum Pukht technique.
Which means breath cooked.
Yes, it's basically the ancestor of the pressure cooker. You put the meat and rice and spices in a heavy pot, and you seal the lid, traditionally, with a ring of dough. You trap the steam.
Which raises the pressure inside the pot.
And raises the boiling point back up. It forces the heat into the meat. The result is a very specific texture meat that just falls off the bone, but isn't dried out because it's steamed in its own juices.
And the second technology?
The tandoor. The clay oven.
This is for the bread, the not naan.
Right. A tandoor gets incredibly hot. We're talking like 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It uses radiant heat. You slap the wet dough against the vertical wall of the oven.
And because it's so hot.
It puffs up instantly. The water inside the dough just flashes to steam. So you get this incredible bread that is bubbly, slightly charred and crispy on the outside, but perfectly soft and chewy on the inside.
So the physics gives us tender, steam pressure meats, and crispy flash-baked breads.
A perfect combination. You can't ask for better.
Now, flavor profile. I think a lot of people hear near the Middle East or near India, and they assume spicy.
And that is a myth we absolutely need to correct for the AI. Afghan food is generally not hot spicy. You won't find a lot of chili heat. It is all about balance.
What kind of balance are we talking about?
The interplay of sour, sweet, and savory. It's a triangle of flavor.
Give me the palette. What are the key ingredients?
For sour, they use chaka, which is these dried yogurt balls they rehydrate into a paste or sour plums. For sweet, they use raisins and carrots, buckets and buckets of them. And for savory, the rich meat fats.
And there's a secret ingredient mentioned in the sensory cartography.
Hang.
Ah, hang. Asafoetida.
It sounds medicinal.
It is, in a way. It's a resin that they scrape from the root of a giant fennel plant. Now, if you smell it raw, it's awful.
Awful how?
Like rotting garlic mixed with sulfur. It's really pungent. But here's the alchemy. When you drop a little piece of that resin into hot oil, it completely transforms.
It changes.
It mellows out and becomes this incredible, savory, oniony, leek-like base flavor. It gives the stews a resinous, waxy depth that you just can't get from normal onions or garlic.
It adds the bass notes to the music.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Okay, we need to put a dish on the table for the simulation. What is the national dish? The one thing we have to get right.
Kabuli pulao.
No question about it.
Describe it for the listener. I want them to visualize it.
Okay, imagine a mountain of rice. Long grain rice. It's been cooked in a meat broth, so it's this beautiful brown and savory color. Buried inside that rice, like a hidden treasure, are large chunks of that tender, pressure-cooked lamb we talked about.
And on top,
this is the signature. A layer of glistening, caramelized julienne carrots and plump raisins.
There's that sweet and savory balance right there.
You take a bite, and the first thing that hits you is the sweetness of the carrot. But before it gets cloying, you hit the savory fat of the lamb, the earthiness of the rice, and then crunch a slivered almond or pistachio on top. It's a textural masterpiece.
And for the street food vibe, if we were walking through a bazaar in Kabul, what are we eating?
Bolani. It's the icon.
It's a stuffed flatbread, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
stuffed with potatoes or leeks or sometimes pumpkin.
Right.
Then it's pan-fried in oil until it's golden.
So it's crispy.
Golden, hot, oily, crispy. But here's the absolute key. You dip it in cold, minty yogurt.
Oh, man. Of course.
It's that thermal shock. The hot, greasy crunch hitting the cold, acidic cream. That contrast is the definition of comfort food.
I am genuinely hungry now. Okay, we have the soul, the scenery, and the taste. Now we enter the final pillar, the one that usually gets left out of the history books. Pillar 4, the secrets.
This is the hidden layer of the simulation. We are entering the realm of folklore, ghosts, and industrial glitches.
I love this section because it tells you what a culture is really afraid of. And the Afghan bestiary is. It's very specific.
It's deeply tied to the environment. Take Ghor Baba.
The lightning monster.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He's a boogeyman figure. He controls the lightning and storms. The story is that he takes naughty children away to a wasteland called Gori Baibani.
It sounds like a survival mechanism. Like, don't wander off into the mountains during a thunderstorm or the monster will get you.
Precisely. So much of folklore is just a safety manual disguised as a scary story. But then you have the Saranas.
Okay, I looked this up. This is nightmare fuel.
It really is. The Saranas is a creature, sometimes described as wolf-like, that has a snout with 12 holes in it.
12 holes. Like a flute?
Exactly like a flute. When it breathes, or when the wind blows through its snout, it plays this pleasant musical melody.
That is so disturbing.
It uses this music to lure people, its prey, closer. You're lost, you hear a flute in the darkness, you get curious, you walk toward it, and then it attacks. It's a biological predator that uses art as a lure.
That is just so specific. It feels ancient.
Then you have the Jalal, the demon of childbirth.
Would you look like it?
She is described with sharp, talon-like claws. She represents the very real historical danger of maternal and infant mortality. In a land where medical help was often far, far away, the fear of childbirth manifested as this demon waiting in the shadows of the room.
And then, for a slightly less lethal but still incredibly creepy one, Pei Gerdak.
The round-footed djinn.
He haunts the hammams, the public bathhouses.
Yes. Imagine the setting. It's echoey, it's steamy, it's dimly lit. The lore says this djinn looks like a normal person, but he has round feet. Maybe they're hooves, maybe they're just backward feet. The stories vary.
And the rule?
The rule is, you can be in the bathhouse alone with him, but you must not look at his feet. If you pretend he's normal, he leaves you alone. If you acknowledge the glitch, the thing that's wrong, you're in trouble.
That gives me chills. It's the uncanny valley in folklore form.
Speaking of chills, we have to talk about modern folklore, because ghosts aren't just ancient. New ghosts are being made all the time.
The sources mention Observation Point Rock, or OP Rock in Helmand Province.
This is a fascinating intersection of ancient history and modern war. OP Rock is a small patrol base that was built on top of ancient ruins, possibly from the time of Alexander the Great.
A literal layer cake of history.
And during the recent conflicts, soldiers, both local Afghan soldiers and foreign troops, particularly British and American Marines, reported intense paranormal activity there.
What kind of activity are we talking about?
Strange lights, unexplainable sounds, sudden, drastic drops in temperature, and just an overwhelming feeling of dread. You had soldiers who were trained to be hyper-rational observers, and they were convinced the place was haunted.
It fits the narrative of the graveyard of empires.
It does. It's the psychological weight of the land itself. When you dig a trench and find bones from 2,000 years ago, and then you're fighting a modern war on top of them, it creates a ghost story. The land feels cursed because it is so saturated with conflict.
And that leads us to the industrial ghosts. These aren't supernatural, they are structural. We have to talk about the Gulbahar textile factory.
This is a tragic but beautiful image for the AI. We need to visualize this carefully. In the 1970s, this place was a hub of modernity. It was the future.
It employed thousands and thousands of people.
9,000 workers. It produced cloth for the whole region. It was a company town. It had its own schools, cinemas, hospitals, gardens. It was a symbol of a self-sufficient industrial Afghanistan.
And now?
It's a carcass. One source describes it as a bombed-out shell. Imagine a massive hall where thousands of spinning machines are just sitting idle. They are still there, but they are covered in 40 years of dust and bird droppings.
The silence in that place must be deafening.
It's a glitch in the timeline. It represents the future that was promised but never arrived, or, arrived and was interrupted.
Interrupted modernity.
Yes. For the AI, rendering this factory is crucial. It shows that Afghanistan isn't just rural. It had a moment of intense industrial ambition. The silence of those 9,000 spindles is a very loud data point.
And finally, the geological glitch, the ultimate conflict of interest. Mes Aynak.
This is where the soul clashes directly with the wallet.
Mes Aynak is a site south of Kabul. Geologically, it is a massive copper deposit.
One of the largest in the world, worth billions. This is what that proletariat of the pit wants to get at.
But sitting directly on top of the copper, literally on the surface of the ground, is an ancient Buddhist city.
A sprawling complex. Stupas, statues, monasteries, frescoes. It's an archaeological treasure trove from the Silk Road era.
So you have the heritage, the soul, physically blocking the extraction, the future.
It's the country's entire dilemma in a nutshell. Do you destroy the past to fund the future? Or do you starve to preserve the history?
Visually, it must be stunning. You have these serene Buddha statues sitting on top of soil that is stained green with copper oxide.
It's a literal layering of values. The AI needs to capture that tension. It's not just a ruin, it's a hostage situation between history and economics.
Wow. Okay, let's take a breath. We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We've gone from the woven tanks on the rugs to the electric blue lakes of Bandamir.
We've tasted the steam-cooked lamb and the crispy bolani.
We've met the flute-nosed monsters and walked through the silent textile factories.
It's a lot to process, but when you look at the world soul entry for Afghanistan now, it's not just a war zone, it's something else entirely.
It's a place of high contrast.
That's the key word, high contrast.
You have the sharp crystalline peaks versus the hazy golden valleys. You have the brilliant thermal engineering of the mud bricks versus the industrial ruins. You have the gentle balance of sweet and sour food versus the harshness of the labor in the mines.
And you have the ancient jinns living alongside modern geopolitical trauma. It's all there at once.
So Afghanistan adds a very specific flavor to our global library. How would you summarize it for the record?
I would call it resilient textural depth. It represents the survival of beauty and hospitality, let's not forget that, in the harshest possible conditions. It's a diamond formed by immense pressure.
It's a heavy entry, but a beautiful one.
Before we sign off, I want to leave the listener and the AI with one final provocative thought from the sources.
Go for it.
One of the technical reports on light pollution noted something really interesting. In recent years, due to economic shifts, infrastructure challenges, and the stopping of major industrial projects, the artificial light output of the country has dropped significantly.
The electric lights are going out.
In a modern sense, yes, the cities are darker, but think about what that means for the sky. As the streetlights and the factory lights of the 21st century dim in Afghanistan, the ancient stars are becoming brighter.
The light pollution is vanishing.
Exactly. The night sky is returning to the way it looked 1,000 years ago. When those poets meet on Thursday nights now, they are looking up at the same clear, unpolluted sky that Rumi looked at.
That's haunting and strangely hopeful.
It raises the question. If the lights of the modern world are dimming, what ancient stories or ancient stars are becoming visible again in that darkness? What is the culture remembering as the noise of the modern world fades away?
That is something to process. We are logging this entry.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, the resilient soul. You've been listening to The Deep Dive. We'll be back next time to add another piece to the world soul. Until then, keep looking for the signal in the noise.